All right, guys, we are live. Welcome back to another episode of the Pokemon Masterclass. I brought out all the stops on this one. I've brought in the dynamic duo. They are sure to bring the heat. So please help me in welcoming to the podcast the one and only Yizzy Pokemon and Notshivam. What is going on, guys?
What's good? What's good?
Well, I'm actually surprised that I was able to find it in your busy schedules to actually sit down and chat. You guys have been all over the place, just absolute gallivants across the Pokemon community conventions. You guys were recently at the Pokemon Saves the World event. I've been keeping tabs on you over Instagram, and I have to say I'm very jealous. I'm very jealous of your travels. So
you got to come through. We can hang out.
What's that?
I said you got to come through. We can all hang out.
Oh, dude, I really want to. That's one of my big goals for this year, was to try to get out and about and make it to some conventions and see everyone in person. But you know how life is, especially being a business owner and being a dad, and just having a newborn. It's like, those responsibilities, they catch up to you.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have those responsibilities yet, so.
Yeah. That's the main reason. I have a dog and I'm already booked up.
Even the dogs, even the pets, there's a certain level of responsibility there as well. But guys, again, a huge thank you to you for taking the time out to speak with me and with the audience here tonight. I've been watching you guys for a long time, especially the Poke Tea Time podcast. I always love watching those because the main thing that I really love about you guys is you get into the nitty gritty. You're not afraid to kind of dive into topics that that other people might be, and discuss the things that should be discussed. And I've always really respected that about both of you. And that's kind of what I want to preface our conversation with here tonight. As the title suggests, is Pokemon still enjoyable? Many people out there might be asking themselves, well, if you don't think it's enjoyable, why are you still in the hobby? And what I really want to get into here tonight is that after everything that we've seen over these last 18 months, like all of the tension and a lot of the things going on, I still think, and I know you guys do as well, is that there is still a hugely strong community within Pokemon. And I think you guys really exemplify that by getting out there into the community. Just all of your posts and everything that you've had associating with all these other content creators and with the community at large. To me, that's just an exemplification of how strong it really is. But before we dive into that, before we start getting into everything that you guys have been doing and your perspective on that, I do want to back up and maybe talk a little bit about some of the things that we are seeing in the community. Just some of those schisms that have existed and are currently happening. If you guys don't mind, I'd like to start off first with maybe the most recent development, in that we potentially could be seeing the exit of Unlisted Leaf after his collaboration with StockX and the box break there, and then his subsequent notification that he was going to be leaving the hobby. I'd like to get your perspective on that and kind of what we've seen with sort of this call-out culture, not just in Pokemon, but kind of pervasive across the macro social media sphere. But just interested to start off by getting your perspective on that whole situation.
So I just kind of want to talk about this real fast. Myself and Yizzy, we actually saw Ando's story of him quitting. Obviously, he deleted that story real fast, but I saw it during the fight while we were in Vegas, and I told Yizzy hey, this is what's going on right here, right now. And immediately I was upset, not in an angry kind of way. I was heartbroken. You have someone who has put so many hours where you don't really necessarily get paid a whole lot when you're first starting off being this content creator, putting out content. There's a lot of sacrifice that you put into it, and seeing someone who's given back so much, and just taking a little bit of time and just taking that one opportunity just to make money for himself, I think people attacking him to the lengths that people did attack him, even sending him death threats, I think that was very disappointing. Like, to me, it's like this is not what a Pokemon community is, right? Like, we always talk about the quote unquote Pokemon community and what the Pokemon community should be, and the idealistic aspects that are involved with it. And
All right, guys, I think we are back. Had some technical difficulties, as you might imagine. That's always seems to always be the case in one way or another. But go ahead and join me in welcoming back once again, Notshivam and Yizzy Pokemon. What's up, guys?
thank you. Not much. Just being on this amazing podcast right now with you.
Well, I appreciate you guys sticking around. I appreciate you sticking around through everything. But what we were getting into before everything dropped off, we were talking about the current thing going on with Unlisted Leaf and that whole situation, and discussing that. And Shivam, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you and let you continue on with your thought on that situation and what's developing there.
Yeah. So essentially, myself and Yizzy, we were in Vegas. We were in the process of watching the Tyson Fury fight in the PokéJuice room. And, I'm scrolling through Instagram because I hadn't been on anyone's stories. I haven't, been consuming content because I've been in that, like, because I'm in the moment,
buddy. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I don't think it connected for me. Hold on. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. It happens.
Okay. Let me do this again. Gosh, such a nightmare.
Oh yeah, we know all about this. Oh, there we go. I see it now. I think we are live.
Are we live?
Yeah.
Because it's I don't see it connecting to my.
Oh, I see it right now. There's 14 people watching us. Our Pokemon card's still enjoyable. Let me put that in the IG link so I can just send it to you.
See, I'm gonna check on my end just to make sure, because I'm not getting any of the chat rolling through.
So I just actually DM'd you the actual link that you have up. You can just click on that and you can see that the actual live is up. Yeah, we're live. Okay. Everyone's saying we're live.
Okay. All right. Good. Well. All right. We will continue on. We will continue on, and hopefully make this thing work. Okay, Shivam, I am so sorry. Go ahead and continue.
Oh no, you're fine, dude. You're totally fine. So essentially, myself and Yizzy, we were in the PokéJuice room, and we were watching the Tyson Fury fight, and I'm scrolling through Instagram, and all of a sudden I see a post on IG from someone that I follow already, and they had screenshot Ando's story, and I'm like, wow, like, are people really sending this kind of stuff out to Ando, like, to that extent? Like, I know that people were kind of upset about his sort of price points for those packs, and granted, they weren't his price points, they were stock X's and break X's price points. And I was upset, not in like an angry way, just more in like a disappointed / sad kind of way. Mm-hmm. It was this sort of feeling that it's like, no matter how much good you do, or no matter how much good you put out, you're going to have people that are going to zero in on that one negative thing, right? And I think people have this tendency to essentially forget everything that you've done that's great, and then just zero in on that one bad thing. And personally speaking, I don't think, him collaborating with BreakX and StockX to selling 3 packs for $60 is honestly a bad thing, right? Like, you have all that goes into it. You have the people that have to open up the packs. You have the PSA aspect that goes into it. And I'm not saying that they didn't make money off of it. They definitely probably made a decent amount of money off of it. But for someone to make profit off of a hobby, I don't know why we as a community have this sort of negative stigma behind it, right? A lot of us that create content, that's the dream, right? To be able to make a living off of Pokemon, or just making a living off of like selling Pokemon or anything involving creating content. That's the dream, right? Like, it gives us so much more freedom than what we need to. Like, we're our own bosses at that point. We control what we're doing, and at the end of the day, we can put 100 hours a week into it, and it won't feel like work for us. So a lot of people don't really get that or understand that, and I think this sort of if you're a content creator, you kind of understand where he's coming from. If you're someone who just consumes content and is on that other side where you're just consuming the content, you're participating in the hobby, but you're not really producing content, you don't really have an idea of what's actually happening. Not saying that there were content creators that were actually hating on what he was doing. I just think they lack that understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so,
well, and what I would venture to say as well is, when a company, right, when a company like StockX, BreakX reaches out to somebody like that, there's only so much that they can influence, right? So how much influence did he really have over the price that they were being sold at? How much could he actually give his take on what he thought was fair and equitable versus what they really, what was behind their agenda and what they wanted to do? And, the fact that maybe he wanted to get that out there to the wider community, get access to a lot of this product for a larger majority of people. And there's got to be compromise there, right? Whenever there's a collaboration like this, there's always going to be some level of compromise that takes place. And yeah, I think you're right. To me, what has been the most disturbing aspect is just the way in which people react. And I've been in this community for quite a long time, since early 2016. And that's really what disturbs me the most is the reactions that people have, and just how aggressive those responses can be, to things like death threats, which in no way, shape, or form is ever acceptable. And no matter what, and for that to kind of be somewhat pervasive through the hobby, where there is this immediate push towards aggression and call out and threats and all of these different things, and trying to dox in a lot of ways a lot of these content creators and these people. I don't know. I don't know if it's something that exists in a vacuum within Pokemon. I think it's something that exists within the larger social media sphere, and that kind of trickles over into Pokemon. But yeah, Yizzy, I'm interested to get your take as well.
So for a different perspective, I saw the video myself when Ando originally posted it, and I looked at it. I looked at the prices and I looked at what he was offering, and I saw it and I was like, well, it's interesting, but it's like just giving my take and analysis on it. I'm like, okay, I probably won't get one. And honestly, that was the end of it. It was like, okay, that's not my thing. I saw the prices. And in this culture, we know prices of Pokemon. It's not like a facade, It's like we know they're $4.19 at Walmart. We know booster boxes retail at $120 to $144. It's not some mystery surprise. So it's like we know what we're getting into on it. And I do see there's premiums on if certain person do it. PokéRealm is the greatest example. There's a huge premium on his box breaks, and it sells out within minutes after he ends his last one.
Right.
And it's everybody was complaining about that at the beginning, but now nobody was complaining. So when I saw this news, it was just crazy in my mind, because recently I do see the toxic culture and the call out culture in there, and it just doesn't seem right to me. So I just moved past it, but it was an easy opportunity for the community, just like you say, dox him, which is super unfortunate. That's not how we should be, we should take that approach where it's as long as we're informative and we let people know what's going on, how much these packs are, because nobody's benign to what's going on in the Pokemon community. And so that's
I think what Yizzy's essentially saying is consent. These transactions are consensual. They're happening. One party's agreeing to the price point at which something's being sold, and it's not like someone's pulling a fast one over someone. And something was really interesting that I personally received via text message, and I also saw on Twitter. And that's where a lot of the hate was stemming from, how someone was calling this sort of behavior from Ando's side very scammy. Well, for one, he's selling a product as described. The person who's buying the product is getting what is described. What's happening is that people are associating scamming to, let's say buying something for a lot higher than normal. And for one, saying that someone's scamming someone is not only derogatory, it's slander, right? It's career damaging. And what Ando's doing isn't necessarily to some people it's wrong, but if you don't like something, you don't have to participate in it. I think that's very simple, right? Like I can put a card up on eBay worth way more than what it's actually worth, and someone can have an issue with it, but hey, they don't have to buy it if they find something else for a cheaper price. It's with real life. Like it's literally going to a store and window shopping and comparing prices. Like if you don't like the price, you don't have to be aggressive about it. Just move on to something that you genuinely find. And I think at that point, it's just the behavior aspect of it. Is it really worth going out of your way to send someone death threats, or just literally destroying someone who's given out so much for literally nothing for years on end? Because I mean, Pokemon, we all know Pokemon has sort of become profitable now for those people that have been involved within the past 4 years or so, right? Like you have him, Lee, all these people that have been involved for 4 years plus, and here he is just getting everything thrown at him. And I think there's a better way to doing things.
Yeah. No, for sure. And again, I've told people before as well is, when I like what you said, Shivam, where this term scammer or scam or scalping tends to just be thrown out there freely among everything. And I've told people before, there's really only two prices in the market. There is the price at which people will pay, and there is the price at which people will not pay. That's it. Now, if you are the type of person you're willing to pay at that price point, then as you said, that is 100% your choice. That is 100% consensual. That is totally different than if somebody says, oh yeah, well, we'll sell it to you for $50, but they end up charging you $60, right? Now that's a scam. That is 100% a scam. The lack of transparency there. But just when they put out there and they say, hey, this is how many packs you get, this is the price, take it or leave it. To me, I don't see anything wrong with that. And there were obviously enough people out there that found enough value in that price point for those packs to buy into it, right? Because what a lot of people don't understand also is that sometimes there is extraneous value that is attached to something like that. So let's take, for example, something like the Logan Paul box break, where he was charging, $11,000, or with the subsequent box break, even more than that. To a lot of people out there, I had the opportunity to talk to Randolph Pokemon, and it was that singular moment that he bought into that box break that really blew up his channel and really took him to another level. So absolutely. That is a huge price point. A lot of people would say that is an egregious price. But to him, that $11,000 and that notoriety and the exposure that he got from getting into that was way more than the actual value of the pack.
Correct. And a lot of people, they don't understand is that Logan Paul, just to do a simple, if you were to try and get Logan Paul to give you a shout out, the cost of that is $150,000 just to get a shout out from Logan Paul. So just to be able to buy a pack for $11,000 and then have Logan Paul shout out your YouTube channel, that's major. You're getting a shout out for basically a discounted price. And that's why you had a lot of people, even during the second box break, they were basically spending triple the amount of price of what first edition Shadowless packs were going for. They were spending $30,000, $35,000 per pack. That doesn't necessarily mean that the packs are worth that much. They're just paying for that shout out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where it's really disturbing. And I think that as much as I would like to say that the hobby itself, I think, has become much more educated and knowledgeable in the sense of the market of Pokemon cards and the understanding what really has intrinsic value and their collecting style and how to barter and trade and all of these different things that maybe the three of us have experienced, and we had to go through those growing pains early on. As much as I think they've increased their awareness in that area, I think that we as a hobby, I should say a minority of it, are still somewhat lacking in the empathetic aspect and understanding what really goes on the back end all of the things, all of the extraneous factors that a lot of people don't see that goes into something like this. Or when Mason from Cardinal Gaming, when he posts his products up on his website or in his store, and people see the final price and they say that's outrageous and that's just, it's a scam, it's a scalper. They don't understand everything that has gone on up to that point of that final price. Right. Sure. And for those of us that have been in the business aspect and that have been in the content creating aspect of this for some time now, we do understand that. And that's where conversations, I think, like this are beneficial, because it gives people a broader awareness of really everything that goes on in here. And we'll get to it soon of why I think that this hobby still is so great, and you guys have really been experiencing that firsthand. But yeah, any last thoughts that you guys have on that? Not just with Unlisted Leaf, but kind of what we've been seeing. It almost seems like every single month it's somebody new. Right?
It's cyclical.
It's cyclical. Exactly. It's every month it's somebody new. It started out where I remember Danny was going through in fact, before I got him on my podcast, he had taken a break from YouTube because he was receiving a lot of hate mail for a particular box break that he had done. And then it came around and it was Frosted Caribou's video that was really calling out a lot of different people within the hobby. Basically everyone, other than herself, really. And then you had her subsequently coming back out attacking King Pokemon, and then it was Squeaks, and then it was Mason.
Oh, we got attacked too.
Oh yeah. Oh, I since the very beginning, But
yeah,
for me, like, I've got pretty thick skin, and I've told people before, like, what I find the most unfortunate thing is if you make a mistake, if you make an honest mistake, then you should come out and you should say, you know what, I messed up, and you apologize for it and you move on. But what I don't agree with is a lot of these content creators or business owners coming back out and apologizing for something that really they shouldn't be apologizing about, right?
Yeah.
I think they do it to try to ward off the leeches, right? To just try to get a little bit of breathing room. And that I don't necessarily agree with. So if Ando, if he did make a mistake in any part of that, then yeah, I'm sure he'll come out and he will apologize for any aspect of that. But for him to have to say, you know what, I'm leaving YouTube and I'm leaving what I enjoy most, or for Mason to have to come out and make a video explaining himself and everything, I just don't agree with that. And I don't think that it does them any good.
So something that I've kind of noticed and questioned is when content creators take mental breaks away from social media, and then when they come back, they feel like it's necessary to apologize. And I'm I've always questioned that. If you're taking a break for yourself to essentially get better, because sometimes it's not easy being a content creator. A lot of us have to take time away for ourselves or for family or anything of the sort to just kind of get us back on track, right? And I've never understood why we essentially have to apologize to our community. If our community genuinely understands our situation, then they're going to be okay even if we were to take a break, they're going to welcome us back in full arms. But I've always kind of always wondered why content creators always why content creators always feel like it's necessary to apologize. And another thing I kind of want to touch on is I was watching this documentary called The Social Dilemma. And with what recently just happened with, Facebook going down and Instagram going down when the whistleblower came out, and how social media essentially primes people to put the most social media itself puts the most negative thing, and it puts it right in front of you because that's what we feed on the most. And it's the same way the news operates. And it gets a lot of attention on it, right? No one's going to pay attention to great deeds. People are going to focus on the negative aspects of certain things. And so you have people who kind of understand that, they have a great grasp on how that works. And they will essentially create issues within the community because they know that's going to drive clicks. They know they're going to get the attention that they want out of something. And I think that's something that, people really need to kind of differentiate what this person's actually trying to do versus what they're trying to do and what's the actual motive behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what we just feed on. I think it's important to really just kind of, take a step back and sort of see what happens. And, I know you just mentioned this right now when, content creators mess up, they should apologize for it. Well, if a content creator messes up, the internet is so fast to literally take that one like millimeter of rope and they'll run with it before that content creator is even able to come out and apologize for it.
Right.
And so like that's something that's always fascinated to me. That's always fascinated me. It's crazy to me that people will literally attack someone before they even have the chance to apologize. And I think just to be able to apologize for something, you can't just say outright you're sorry right away. It has to be well thought and it has to be clear and concise. And sometimes some people have to step out and get their thoughts and collect their thoughts together to be able to put that across. And Ando could have been doing that. He could have just realized like, hey, wow, this didn't go the way I wanted to, and now I have to put this out there, but it was already too late.
Right. Yizzy, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. I know you probably got something to add to that.
No, he said it better than I would have, but just like the attacks and I'm reading one of these comments where it just said, oh, we won't believe you if you're really leaving until you delete his channel and faking an exit. Like, people have feelings, man. Like, it truly did hurt him. Like, you have no idea how much something so small can affect someone so much at that moment, I mean, in the end, he's going to look it over. He's going to say, wow, like his family and friends are encouraging him. You worked so hard for these 7 years. Don't delete it. And that's going to be the end result. He's not going to delete his channel, but the feelings of him wanting to quit, the feelings of him
those are legitimate.
Possibly, I don't want to say this, but hurt himself, or the feelings of literally wanting to quit are there 100%. So, the fact that just to deny all that is unfair on anyone, like nobody's telling anyone else to quit. Like especially if something that they're super passionate about. And it goes back to what you were saying earlier about like, why are everybody just calling? Like when people say like, oh, he should be owning up to criticism. Has anybody reached out to him and just told him maybe, I don't know what your exact stance on it is, because I understand both sides. Like I understand that was way above market and it was way above what you could get at the store or what other card shops are selling it. But at the end of the day, there's a right way of doing it, there's a wrong way of doing it, and a lot of people were teetering that line. So
and again, I think it really boils down to again, people have to start to understand that there's only two real price points out there. There is what people will pay and there is what people will not pay. Absolutely. In economics, we call this laissez-faire, where we just let it be. The market will operate as it should. Now, there can always be manipulation, right? We see that in the stock market pretty consistently. In fact, being a former financial advisor, one of the things that we always said, this common analogy that we would use was the stock market is a graph of rich people's feelings. And in a lot of ways, that's true. The people that have the most influence can sometimes influence things in the direction that they want to see it go. But for the most part, the market will operate according to the sensibilities of the investors, of the people within that market. And again, there is a lot of extraneous value that can sometimes be derived out of something that people don't see. So for the people that didn't think that was a fair price, guess what? They didn't buy into it. The people that did and maybe got the exposure and got the value that they wanted out of it, then they did. That value was there even at that particular price point. We see it all the time. You guys probably see it just in your local area where, your game shops, for instance. A lot of the time, the game shops are going to be selling those items for quote unquote above MSRP. Well, why is that generally the case? A lot of the time it's because they can't keep enough inventory in their store, or they can't garner enough quantity that they otherwise used to be able to do. So they may be able to get twice the amount of quantity, be able to charge it MSRP, meet their bottom line, and then also make enough to keep the lights on and make a profit. Now with so much of that cut, well, how do you make up for that? How do you still meet all of those different requirements? Well, you have to raise the prices. You have to raise the prices in order to basically meet all of those various requirements.
Absolutely. I mean, I run a tobacco business, wholesale and retail, and so like during this entire pandemic, like a lot of people who don't really have a business don't really have an understanding of this, or you're just too ignorant to really understand that everything became difficult to acquire. The price of lumber has gone up.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it came to a lot of the products that we have as a business, it became very, very difficult to acquire. It took us a year to get one of our products back on the shelf, and we had to increase prices off the board. We had to stop. There was a moment where we had to discontinue the sale of it to our wholesalers and keep it direct for retail, because retail pricing is a little bit more profitable for a wholesaler to begin with if you're doing both. So in this case scenario, like I just think that people really need to start looking things objectively versus sentimentally. And in this hobby, it's so easy to look at things very, very sentimentally. Something that I knew that like I knew this sort of precedent was going to take place, because I was watching the sports card hobby very, very closely. In conjunction with Pokemon before Pokemon even, before Pokemon blew up. And the difference between sports and Pokemon is that there's a lot more sentimentality towards Pokemon than there is sports. But the thing is that breaks and break culture and all this different stuff is so normalized in the sports card hobby. And this is all new to Pokemon.
Right.
And I think it's just going to take time. I think a lot of Pokemon people are going to get used to sort of this break culture. Like when Whatnot first came out, and myself and Yizzy were first selling on that platform, Yizzy got canceled for it because one of his packs sold above MSRP, way above MSRP, but he couldn't control that because it's on an auction.
It's an auction.
People are consenting, and yeah, you can't control that. Like that's out of someone else's hands. And the thing behind that is that people put him through that entire ordeal about it, but now when you look at Whatnot and how many people who are participating on Whatnot, you have the people that were canceling Yizzy now participating on that application itself and selling on there. And so now it's sort of become normalized. And I think that culture is becoming more and more normalized in this hobby. And I think just like Pokemon and how Pokemon evolve, I think us as people who participate in this hobby have to evolve. I think we all have to be a little bit more accepting as to what's going on.
No, very true. And like you said, I think we will. Because you guys can, if you have a different opinion on this, by all means, let me know. But in all actuality, I truly think that the vast majority of the hobby has entered into the hobby within the last 18 months, right? There has 100%. Been a huge surge in people entering this hobby where it was fairly especially prior to 2016, it was a pretty obscure and esoteric type of hobby to be in. I remember getting back into it, and in early 2016, I don't even remember watching Leonhardt videos. I don't remember watching Real Breaking Nate videos. You know who I watched back then? It was Gem Mint Pokemon and Primetime Pokemon. Those were the two guys that I watched, and there just was not this exposure that there is now. And everything, whether it's just the collecting aspect, the buying, selling, investing aspect, that has seen such a huge transformation in this last year and a half, unlike anything I've ever seen, especially in the prior 4 years that I had been in the hobby. And much in the same manner, we go through those growing pains. The hobby as a whole goes through those growing pains, and eventually we come out on the other side. And the hobby kind of reconstructs itself, where it's like, okay, now we've kind of started to find our identity. We started to kind of understand how things are operating in this current paradigm and moving forward. And then we all kind of come to a conclusion on that. We all come to this kind of similar basis.
Yeah, and I think someone in the chat actually said something too that just rang a bell. People are looking for a villain right now, and people want someone to blame. The past I want to say year or so, with a lot of the issues that were taking place and the difficulty to find Pokemon product, the moment someone associates a problem to a face, then that's where that cancer culture comes from. Right. Even though that problem has nothing to do with them. right? A lot of people blamed influencers after Caribou's video, right? Like that correlation does not happen, right? YouTubers have been putting prices on their YouTube channels for years and years and years before the boom even happened. What happened to that, right?
Right.
Or the fact that what's another good example of this? Like Logan Paul, right? Logan Paul coming into a hobby isn't not necessarily why the prices went up. You just have to understand that a lot of people just got a lot of exposure from that, and they decided to enter into a space when exposure for Pokemon was an all-time high.
Right.
Or people what people don't want to place a blame on is the fact that the Pokemon Company International just wasn't expecting this much people coming through into a hobby when this was bound to happen, COVID or not. We were trending down this path, right? If you go on eBay back in 2019 and early 2020, PSA 9 prices, PSA 8 prices, PSA 7 prices were extremely undervalued. The supply of actual near mint condition cards, of high end cards, from first edition base all the way up to even 2002 plasma era, all those cards were severely undervalued. And once that supply completely ran out, then that's why you see that demand pop up 10x for a card. We were just bound to get to that point, COVID or not, influence or not. We were bound to get to that point.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It's interesting to see kind of the changing tide, and like you said, people, I've made this statement before, because after the Caribou video, she was basically saying that Pokemon had become more about money than the collecting or the playing aspect of it. And I put forth the response to that. Do you not remember the price guides from back in the day? There has always been a value attached to collectibles in general, but to Pokemon cards more specifically. The price guides have always been there. When we were out on the playground, I can remember breaking out that price guide, being like, whoa. You want to trade Squirtle for my Charizard? I'm a little bit more savvy than that, right? So, and that's a way for us to create another sense of value around these items. There's financial value, there's sentimental value, there's collecting value, there's all these different values. And again, I don't think that one necessarily is more important than the other, but it's unfortunate that we have this sentimentality of trying to impose one's will or one's viewpoints upon others, and then to reject all of these other viewpoints and other ways of enjoying the hobby.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. I mean, there's so many things behind me that are very, very sentimental that doesn't necessarily get involved in this sort of market, right? We see Charizards on the market all the time, but a lot of the stuff that I buy is based on sentimental value, right? I go to a person and they might not be really interested in selling a particular item, and I throw them a figure at it and they might consider it and they might actually sell it. If you're sentimental about something and you want it, you're going to pay that you're going to pay the price to be able to acquire it. Otherwise it's tough. At that point you can't have it at that point, right? But that's just how the world works. We don't live in this sort of ideal society where it's like, oh wow, that's something that came from my childhood, I should automatically have that, right? I don't know. People completely are so dismissive when it comes to the Pokemon hobby as a whole, that it's a hobby, right? Hobbies and collectibles have always had a dollar sign attributed to it, whether it's cars, whether it's antiques, whether it's coins, whether it's comic books, you name it. It's always been there.
The other aspect that I find interesting is kind of the fickle nature that we also experience, where we can have something like, I guess a good example is like Battle Styles. Like when Battle Styles was first released, it was really popular. It was a fairly allocated first wave. The prices had gone up, and then we got another wave of Battle Styles. The product tanked, and nobody really cared about it anymore. It's kind of similar to what we saw with Evolving Skies, where Evolving Skies prices had dropped. Now, because of the lack of supply, they've shot back up again, and all of a sudden, everybody cares about it now. And it's just like whenever that bar shifts in an upward direction, it's like everybody wants to jump back onto that. But as soon as it starts to come back down, everybody wants to flee. And it's not just Pokemon. I've experienced this across so many different markets before, and that is, in my opinion, it's because it goes completely against human instinct. Human instinct tells you that when something is falling, when something is dropping, it's falling in price, the instinct is to run and to flee and to get out of there. It's no good. You get away from it. And just on the opposite side, everybody wants to jump in when it's at its high, right? Everybody wants to jump in on Bitcoin, on cryptocurrency when it's at its high. Everybody wants to jump in on Amazon when it's at its high. Pokemon cards are really no different. Unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately. It's just that's just the way that it is.
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's like that crypto guy or the Dogecoin millionaire. I saw a meme where he's like, when it's low, you buy, and when it's high, diamond hands. When it's low, you buy. It's just the whole time.
We actually met a guy who became a multi-millionaire off of Doge in Vegas, so that was pretty cool. Like we were not expecting it. The dude was just chilling in a pool on an inflatable. He didn't have a single drop of water on him, and he was just chilling there for a straight hour. And like, come to find out, this dude's a multi-millionaire off of Doge. I was like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah. It's amazing. And now we're starting to see so many other markets enter the hobby with things like NFTs starting to gain a foothold, and everybody's always looking for that next opportunity, right? And it's understandable that we had so many people that jumped into Pokemon over 2020 because of what we witnessed, this really unprecedented time in a collectibles hobby, and so it certainly makes sense. So I think that's enough of like the negative aspects. I wanted to get into that today and kind of dive into that and get your guys' perspectives, because I want to give the exact juxtaposition of that. And I think you guys are definitely well primed to speak on this, because you've been going to a ton of conventions lately. I see you guys out and about all the time, as I talked about earlier. And the camaraderie that I see, obviously I'm not there, I'm not with you guys, but the camaraderie that I see there and the interpersonal aspect that I see vicariously through your social media it's really compelling. And so I'd like you guys to go ahead and elaborate. Everything being said right now, what are you guys actually seeing out there? When you're seeing the community face to face, when you're seeing your fellow content creators face to face, what's the vibe that you're picking up from them?
Yizzy, you want to take this one first?
Yeah. So when you first mentioned like the whole topic, are Pokemon cards so enjoyable? And when I'm with these people, man, like it's so different, like collecting and being around these people and talking about it. And I feel like some may mistake, well, are those selected people? No, like even in some of these conventions, from the smallest collectors, from like opening packs or just talking about Pokemon. Last night we were talking about when Real Breaking Nate was there, when he was around, some kid came up to him and like literally he spent 30 minutes with this kid opening.
Yeah, we did a box break battle.
Wow.
They did a box break battle. Like it doesn't matter what phase or what status you come from in a Pokemon community. When it comes down to these conventions and traveling, it's a joy. It's an honor to like be in this room with like-minded collectors, no matter where you come from. And I don't know if that was the answer you're necessarily looking for, but like that's my take and like how I see these events, and that's why I spend all this money to go out to go to these conventions. What about you, Ship?
For me, it's very, very similar. Like we spent, myself and Yizzy, we came into the hobby about a little over 2 years ago now, close to 2.5 now. We've been involved for we've been involved for quite some time, and after seeing Lee, Nate, Danny, Ando, and all of them, and Jordan Fringe all at Worlds, like I was like, man, that's what I want to be able to experience with like-minded people, right? Like none of my friends really like Pokemon, like they know what I do, but they don't really participate in it. Like they think it's cool, but like that's just not what they're into. And so the moment events started popping up and, Collected Con started happening, we started going to those events, like, it's like, hey, like, let's just take a stab at it. And, Yizzy's first Collecticon, he went there, he enjoyed it. I saw it. I had FOMO off of that. I
Bad
was like,
FOMO. He booked his
I
ticket
had
that
bad FOMO, but
night.
yeah. Like I called him while he was hanging out with Nate in his hotel room. But the thing is that I couldn't go because it was that same weekend where my parents had just got their shots in. They couldn't go because they weren't feeling well. I had to run the business then.
Mm-hmm.
So like I wanted to go, but I couldn't. Fast forward to the second Collecticon, myself and Yizzy. This is a lot bigger than the first one. A lot more content creators were there, and you look at you talk to every person that went to Collecticon, whether it's a small content creator or even someone who just participates in the hobby as a whole, they will all give you the exact same opinion and they will say it was a blast.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because there's a level of camaraderie there. Like you're meeting people and people think like when you're on social media, right? It seems as if there is this whole clique and there's cliquish behaviors, and I don't think that's the case. I think that when you get people out who love Pokemon together, those lines aren't even apparent. People are down to hang out with each other. If one guy that I've never even met before wants to come eat lunch or dinner with us, he's more than welcome to. Like that's just how it is, right?
We actually had one guy. So like during the event, a lot of people, the convention hosted within a hotel. Like the convention is hosted within a hotel. And during Collecticon, there was this one hotel. I forgot which one was it, like the Marriott, and that's where
the embassy.
Embassy. That's where everybody booked their hotel via the website.
Mm-hmm.
And so at one point, it was just like common to after the convention, everybody met in the lobby. And I remember going out to eat. There was like a group of people, like I knew probably 2 or 3 of them, and we're like, yeah, let's go out to eat. We started walking, and based off everybody we talked to, there was this one, like 2 people there, and I thought one of my friends knew this person, but when we got there, like the guy's like, no, I just met you out the lobby and I thought y'all were cool. And you said everybody come, or whoever's hungry, we're about to go down the street to grab some. And he came with us.
Yeah.
He came with us. And I asked, I'm like, Rob, do you know him? And I'm like, shoot, do you know this guy? And like, nobody knew him. And he just thought we were cool. And then and now he's our friend. He's actually going to be at this Collecticon. He had such a great time.
Like he was with us. He was with us in Tampa too. So I mean, like, it's funny how things work and how friendships are built, but like I don't think when you go to these events, people are like, oh, this guy's better than you, and this guy's better than that person. That like we're just there for a good time, like we're like when myself and Yizzy we're planning to go to these events, it's like, hey, this is what we're doing as far as business goes. The whole business aspect is like Yizzy's going to buy collections, I'm there to produce content, gain sponsorships, meet as many people as possible, network. I think that's the whole premise as to why we go to these things and further our relationships with a lot of the people that we're working with. Like we work hand in hand with Collecticon very, very extensively. And, we're already basically told that we're basically going to all the tour dates for next year. And so
that's awesome.
It's all about,
it's all about to show that it's completely different. How their persona that people fake online is completely different in real life. And I mean, this, that's why they call them keyboard warriors, not to call out the keyboard warriors, but like when you go out there, like nobody's out there like ready to fight somebody. They're not. They're like, hey, I know you, and what's your username, and blah 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 blah. Like it's really like Shiv said earlier, nobody comes out of the convention saying like that was absolutely the worst thing ever. I never want to go back. Like I hate Shiv. Cancel him right now.
Even though it happens like every once a month.
To me, it's a much more natural way of interaction, right? When you're seeing somebody face to face, there's always going to be a certain level of empathy there, right? And a certain level of getting to know somebody, understanding them, versus just you being, a faceless figure online, right? And I think that is the way that we are supposed to interact. We're supposed to interact in person. We're supposed to speak to each other. And I've witnessed it myself. Even people that may bash online, and then you meet them out in person. They're like, hey, you know what, man? I was that guy that said that thing to you before. I actually apologize about that. You're actually a pretty cool guy. And it's just like
that happens.
You shake hands, and it's just like, hey, we're cool, man. We're friends now. And I think that if we did have more of that interaction, and I'm hoping that with things starting to level out, with things starting to normalize, that we can get back to that. We can get back to more people going to conventions, to meeting the content creators that they enjoy or maybe don't enjoy, but actually understand that when they meet them in person, that they're actually really good people. And there's just a certain level of interaction there that you can't get. Like these conversations are great, but I guarantee if the three of us were in person, it would be 100 times better, right? And that's
it'd
just
be a
the natural
blast.
course.
Yeah, it'd be a blast. I mean, like we were just in Vegas. And I mean, like Tampa is a great example. Tampa was a little bit more low key than Dallas at Collecticon. It was basically with people that we already know, that we've already worked with, people that we have conversations with on a regular basis. It was a little bit more low key, and it was great. It was calm. It was great. Vegas was a little bit better in the sense of the fact that those of us that were there, we got to experience something definitely new, and we got to be part of something big as far as giving away to charity. I know a lot of people were very, very zeroed in on how PAX were quote unquote mishandled or what Gary said in conversation, which I don't think really matters. Like people like to zero in things that I think like there's people out there that just want to focus on the negativity, and that's what they really want to focus in on, right? Like if someone's watching my content, if you actually enjoy my content, that's what you're focused on, right? To enjoy my content. But if you're someone who absolutely despises me and lacks that sort of empathy, then you're gonna watch my content for the sole purpose of finding the flaws that are within it, right? Like you have to understand that so many people were just ragging on the entire event, but they were talking about how the energy was low. Well, there was only like 60 Pokemon content creators, and like the rest of the people that were there were mostly media people that do their own blogs and articles, and then you have a bunch of finance and investor people.
Though? Was it like in reality? I had a blast. People were yelling.
I think it was a perfect vibe. I don't think this was supposed to be like a huge rager. I think it was a great vibe. Like personally, I thought everyone had a great time that was there. Like I just got hit up by the people that did the NFT thing.
Go watch my blog. Like I had a blast. Yeah. I recorded every part.
I mean, like if anyone like looks at like my reels, or they look at the posts that we produce, or they look at any other content creators there, like. Or even like you talk to Gem Mint or Old School, a lot of these people who don't really post as much content as they I mean, I think they should, but like you look at all the things that they do, and it's like, wow, we had a blast. Like, when are we going to do this again? So like we're always planning for the next thing. And so this event's going to be like the next thing. I mean, we're just going to get back with the same people that we all know and love, and we have a great time with them, and just meet more people, right? Like myself and Yizzy, we told our community, or the community, that like, hey, if you see us, stop by and say hello to us, like we're there to say hello. Like we're nothing special. We're people just like you and I. We just like putting ourselves out there and just like doing dumb stuff on the internet,
Yeah, exactly. And when you go to things like that, it's really what are you taking away from it, right? Like that for me, for you guys, the social connections that you make, the sponsorships, those are all really important, right? And that helps to build your brand, your business, all of these different things. But then, who are the people that you met there, new friends that you met, the experiences that you have, like that is so important. And I can tell you right now that just from my channel, these are by far and away my favorite pieces of content that I do, because I get to talk with so many interesting people from all various walks of life, from all various aspects of the community. And it's just great. Every time that I walk away from it, I always gain something more. It's like I'm adding another tool into my tool belt, whether that is a connection, whether that is something that I've learned, which is very often the case, something that I learn in that discussion, and new friends, right? Like through this podcast and speaking with members of the community, it has presented a host of opportunities for myself that I otherwise would not have had. And that's all about just putting yourself out there, and just garnering more friends, within this community. And I think that's exactly what you guys are doing. So I got to ask you before I do want to jump into some questions from the chat here. And I know Yizzy's got to get going soon. Our boy Rob, we don't want to leave Rob at the airport for too long.
I mean, we can leave
He
him
just
alone.
texts me. He's like, I landed, but I'm just sitting here watching you, still sitting there on the podcast.
Which I miss the heck out of Rob. Like that guy is fantastic. If there's one person that I really wish would start putting out more content, it's Rob, because I loved watching his
100%.
stuff. He's just such a good dude.
Yeah.
We've been yelling at him. We've been yelling at him.
Yeah, he's just hilarious. Just one of the funniest people ever, and just such a good-hearted guy. But what I want to ask you guys, of all the things that you've done thus far, all the conventions that you've been to, I'd like you guys to share perhaps your most memorable experience that you've garnered thus far.
Most memorable. Oof. I'll let Shiv go first.
That's tough, because like every like, so someone was just telling me the other day, it's like, Shiv, you and Yizzy have like, you guys been traveling around like rock stars, and I'm like, nah, we're just trying to like, we're trying to put ourselves in a better position than we were yesterday. So like all these different events, they bring, they're their own specific highlights, right? Like, the first time, my first Collecticon, which is like Yizzy's second Collecticon, is meeting Yizzy and meeting all these people that I've just been talking to for a year plus. Like being able to sit down with Nate after talking to him for a year, being able to sit down with Danny and after talking to her for a year plus, and all these different content creators, and just finally, like obviously, myself and Yizzy, we run this podcast, and we've had them on the podcast a couple of times or once before. It's so great to actually like enjoy each other's company without this sort of screen in place, without that distance in place. And then like Tampa was great in itself, because like Yizzy and I, we kind of focus more on the bit, like Yizzy focus on what he's doing as far as his business goes, and then I focus on being able to grow the channel as far as finances go. And then when we went to Vegas, that was more of like, us, specifically we're there 100% for charity, but also being able to meet the same people and grow those current relationships, as well as just being able to meet new people. Like there's a lot of people there, there's a lot of opportunity. And I think that if you're just going there just for the sake of having fun, then you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. But like I find enjoyment. So like, that's why like Yizzy and I, we have a great dynamic, because in some ways I'm more I'm more schedule oriented, but I also want to be able to see all these different people and then put ourselves into a better position. I find a lot more enjoyment in that. And then Yizzy, he finds all these different things that we can get into. He plans a lot of the different pieces of content that we might get into, or provide a different perspective or different idea. And it's like, that's what we enjoy the most. Like, I can't really give you an exact answer as to like, what the highlight is, but that's
keep milking it, Shiv. Let me think longer.
yeah. That's just
keep milking the cow,
bro. But yeah, I mean, like I love every single person that we've met. Like I can't fault anyone. Obviously, like myself and Yizzy, we might have our own struggles with social media, and there definitely is struggles with social media when it comes to people who don't necessarily really like us, because we have different opposing views. And I think that's just what it comes down to. Like, I know that there are people that have different opposing views, and let's just leave it at that. If you don't like my content, you don't have to watch it, but there's going to be people out there that are going to watch it and hate on it regardless. So that's out of your control. That's social media for you.
Yeah. Well, and I think in the end, those are the people that you focus on, right?
Yeah.
Is who are the people that are finding value from my content, that it is helping or providing entertainment to.
Correct.
And those are the people that you want to continue.
Invest into those that invest in you.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love that. And so I think basically what you're saying, Shiv, is that really it's kind of everything in the aggregate, everything that you guys have experienced. It's really taking that experience of what you've garnered through social media or through your content, and really just taking that into the real world of really building even further upon the relationships that you've garnered through content creating, and just cultivating that even more with people out there in the real world.
Yeah, I think as human beings, like, yeah, of course we value time, we value money, but I think the third most important thing that human beings do value is having a relationship with somebody, and building upon those relationships and creating those relationships is literally the best way you can have a better life, so to speak, right? Like, like no one man should stay on an island, right? Like you can burn every single bridge you want, but at the end of the day, you're just going to be an island. You're not going to have anyone helping you out. There's going to be no benefit behind it. Once you're on that island and you use up all those resources, then it's done. You're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But if you build those bridges, then you're not only benefiting yourself, but you're also benefiting other people, because you yourself as an individual, you have a lot to offer to people. Like Yizzy has a lot to offer to people. I have a lot to offer to people. We have a lot to offer each other, because we pick up on where each of us, falter at, right? Mm-hmm. Like I have my own flaws, but Yizzy's great in those specific areas. So like it works out in that context. And so that's just the way I look at it. The reason why I think influencers are a thing is because I provide a lot of value to people and where they're lacking. But, if you actually sit down and talk to them when you're at these events or anything of the sort, they might actually provide you a little bit more value.
For sure. No, because we essentially we've all kind of gone through it before. Somebody has gone through it before and has been in the same shoes that you're currently in, and they can help you kind of bypass that, or maybe give you a little bit of a jump start. No, I love that, man. I love that. That's a great answer, and I think that's given Yizzy enough time to.
Yeah. He should have a good enough answer by now.
I'm trying to think of PG answers, but everything is like
PG. What are you thinking about?
Yeah, so my favorite part, meeting Shiv for the first time, and saw that he actually doesn't work out at all. He has chicken legs. He doesn't work out at all.
Get out of here.
Edits all his videos, edits every little thing. I saw all those editing softwares on his thing. Real pictures and fake pictures. But it would be like the first night I met Shiv and Rob. Well, it was Rob first.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, yeah, let's go out somewhere to eat. And there was only one place. And it was called like High Pitch or something like that. And we're like, hey, let's go in there. We go in there, we get set down. And then the menu was really, really great. We start opening Pokemon cards. And then our waiter comes out. Our waitress comes out. We're like, that's interesting. And the next one, and the next one. And like we just walked into like a borderline like strip club / in the Hooters. And then I'm like, Rob, like what is going on here? And like, the food was really good. It was great. But like we just looked goofy because we had like all these Pokemon pack wrappers like on the table, just opening up packs. And so it was yeah.
And that's why you continue to go back is for the fantastic food, right?
The food was
no. They got me to go. They got me to go, and I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah. Let Rob say something in the chat. Say like it was actually really good.
No, the food menu is just completely random. They have, literally everything. It's just random. And I wasn't expecting it because like Yizzy's like, hey, we're going here, and I'm like, okay, cool. And like Don Diego Trading, she's like, go there, get the pickled fries, and I'm like,
yeah, it was just the closest spot, and they were always open.
Yeah.
And then when you went inside, you're like, what did I just walk into? And
it's like, what's going on here?
It's literally labeled on Google Maps as family restaurant. So like you're going in there thinking this is the best thing, like family friendly, and then you just see all these,
extracurricular activities.
Yeah,
that's a highlight for you. That's a terrible highlight, bro.
No, well, I was just thinking like funny moments because like Rob and I went back to our phones and we're like, dude, this says family restaurant, and I'm like, yo, Chelsea's gonna get onto you, like, so it was just funny. I just thought that was one.
I like another highlight. Like this is just funny, but like, so like right after the event in Vegas, we were like, we gotta go. It was like we have to leave now. We have to go see the fight. We had to go watch the fight. None of us had like actual tickets to go actually watch the fight in person, and some of our buddies got invited to go to
the Wilder versus Fury fight.
Some of our buddies got actual invites to Hakkasan at the MGM Grand to like hang out with Steve Aoki behind stage, and we were extended those invites as well. But we weren't able to due to our airport situation. Granted, looking back now, we should have just not, we should have skipped back from the airport. But we got to PokéJuice hotel room, and I get there after everyone else does, and I'm like, why aren't you guys watching? Like, they have the TV on, but they're not even watching the fight on there. And I see Yizzy on his iPhone, and they have it set up right there. And me and Super Duper Danny, we rode together with Robo Skills, and we ended up watching this entire fight off of Yizzy's phone. And I'm like, this is insane. We're in Vegas. Yeah, we're in Vegas and we're watching this fight on an iPhone in a really, really nice hotel room. And I'm like, what is this? That was just hilarious to me.
Yeah, I asked PokéDrew how much, because he got a really nice room. He told me, he's like, I shouldn't have splurged. His room was like $2,000 by the end of the trip.
Yeah. But I mean, like, nonetheless, I mean, like, shoot, one. Yeah, shoot. Like, even the one thing that I cannot stop talking about is the food at the actual Pokemon Saves the World event. They literally were rotating, like, they actually had catering done, and they actually were rotating food like every hour. It was like something new every hour, which was absolutely crazy. I was like, whoa, this is intense. But like, we were just eating all the food. As soon as we got there, we sat down, we started eating. And
yeah, dude,
it was just,
they
it was
had
cool.
something called the Articuno beer freeze. That was really good.
Wow.
Beer. And then later through the night, they had tacos. Then they had like Asian food, and then they had like, at the very end, they had more of like a camp out. They had kebabs, like high-end kebabs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, it was nice. And then
I wouldn't expect anything less, honestly. With Steve Aoki at the helm, I really wouldn't expect anything less than the absolute best. That guy, and that's the thing, like, probably the thing that I love the most about the Pokemon community and the inclusion that we generally have is that you can have somebody like that, Steve Aoki, who conducts an event, him and King Pokemon, that raises so much money, so much awareness, and provides such a unique event, unlike something that most people have ever experienced being in this hobby prior. And that's where I think the more inclusive that we can be, the more people that we can accept, the more people that we can say, hey, you know what? Let's bring them in. Let's accept them as part of the community. That can be a huge, huge benefit to the overall community.
Yeah. I was just telling Don Diego Trading, shout out to Laura, literally last night. I was like, man, a lot of these events should, because like and the reason why I'm saying this is because I'll tell you the reason why. I was telling us, like, man, a lot of these events should just hire us, because we create a lot of FOMO behind all these events as just content creators. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I say that is because, like, I get so many responses like, man, I should have went. It's like, oh, like when I watch your videos, like I feel like if I hung out with you, it would cure depression. Like like one of my buddies, Christos, he was like, Shivam, if I was with you there, I feel like you would cure depression. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like just hanging out with you guys, like, you guys are so high energy all the time that it would just be a blast. Like when we were at Collecticon, we did not sleep. Like just to give you an idea, I only had 5 hours of sleep for literally 3 days out of the 3 days that I was there, because we were just up all night. Like myself, Nate, Danny, we were up till 3-4 o'clock in the morning, just hanging out, open up packs, just talking about Pokemon.
In the lobby too. Like,
yeah, just in the lobby. We didn't have to go anywhere.
Like, not like in somebody's room or anything. Like, people are out there walking around. Like, and it doesn't have to like-minded people.
Yeah, anyone could sit down with us, and everyone did sit down with us. But like, obviously, like, there was different like groups hanging out with each other, but we were all there together. Like, you had TikTok people sitting here, you had obviously some YouTubers sitting here, you had just people who were opening up packs, you had like the
people looking at cards that they were going to send into grade. Like, they're like, what do you think this would get? We had Kanto Shark on the side, like, grading cards for people, like saying like, I think this could get a solid A. There's a little nick right here, maybe a little head flare. Just different facets of collecting, whether it be just pack openings or investing, grading.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that, man. And I think if you guys aren't convinced to get out there to the next convention, wherever it may be, the next Collecticon, these guys have definitely given you the impetus to do so. And more than likely, whatever event it is, you're probably going to see their smiling faces there.
And even like, let's say you can't go to a convention, right? I implore every person who's watching this or will watch this to go out of your way to like go to your local card shop, right? like a local card shop is literally a community where people who are like-minded get together. Like you don't necessarily have to play anything, just go there, sit there, look at the cards. Like there's more a peace at mind when you're actually at a card shop doing these sort of things. Because like think about it, like a lot of us don't necessarily have IRL. Like my own personal college friends, my friends that I talk to on a regular basis, they don't collect Pokemon. But like you go to a card shop, you can literally make friends with someone just because it's like, oh, you collect Pokemon. Like you won't know that until you actually step out of your way to do that. So you don't necessarily have to fly out and spend thousands of dollars on traveling. Like myself and Yizzy were able to do like at first where we put so much money in. Now that a lot of these events are at like they're comping some of our stuff for us. It's like it works out for us in that benefit. But like if you can't do that and prices are a barrier, like being able to travel is a barrier, and working and having all these responsibilities are a barrier, go to your local card shop, right? Or like even if you can't even do that, if your local card shop's far away, obviously a lot of you have your own personal friend groups. Make a group chat and FaceTime them. I know myself, I FaceTime Alex Hodges, Jordan Fringe all the time, almost all the time. I'm with Yizzy on a phone call every single day. I kid you not. Like he's in Houston right now and I'll call him 3 or 4 times and he might not pick up until like the 5th call. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. No, it's and honestly, I feel like that's the way that it kind of always has been, and that was really the impetus for this conversation. I thought you guys were again well poised to give that perspective that often we don't see, or that goes unnoticed. Is that this is a very, very good hobby to be in, one that is still really strong, and one that accepts people from all walks of life.
Right. And I don't think it necessarily goes unnoticed. I just think that people need to have like this sort of shift in mentality where they shouldn't necessarily focus on the negative, the motive or the premise of them going into a piece of content or looking at something. It shouldn't be looking for something to critique right off the bat, or looking at it to say something negative about it right off the bat. I think it's like, hey, consume it for what it is. If you don't like it, then you can express that criticism in that manner, right? I don't believe any content creator is infallible. I think all of us are responsible of our own actions, but I also think that a lot of us content creators have created this sort of reputation, and we're not willing to put any sort of value, like we're not willing to lose it just for something small as like one thing, right? Like if we mess up, we're gonna own up to it in our own way. I just think it's important to just sort of step back, kind of see what they're coming from, and if you have any sort of concerns, just message them. You don't have to like crap on someone right off the bat. And I think that sort of shift needs to happen. If you focus on the positives, then you're going to see that, right? Like a lot of people watch the stream, they focus on the negatives. But like if you actually, on the flip side, after watching that stream, went to Instagram and watched all of our content, then that's the positive for it. Like you could have been like, wow, looks like it was a blast. And some people saw that, some people didn't.
Right. No, really, really good, guys. I want to go ahead and give an opportunity now over to the chat. If you guys have any questions for Yizzy or Shivam, go ahead and toss them in there. If you have any questions about Shivam's workout routine, Yizzy has cast doubt on his workout routine. So
we literally worked out
I'm sure he can educate you all in his
hotel,
his current sets and supersets and his hypertrophy phase and all that good stuff.
Not worth it. Like,
Yizzy, let's have a deadlift day in Houston.
Huh?
Let's have a deadlift day in Houston.
We can do a flexing contest with our legs.
Could you play soccer? Your legs are primed for that.
What? So
I just have bad calf chains, man. Oh, but I can still outlift. I can lift you. I can outlift you. I can outlift you in everything.
Okay. I mean, we can have an audience, everywhere around us at CollectCon. We don't need a go.
Yeah, let's go. We'll go. Deadlifts are, a leg workout.
No, we can just be in front of everyone in the middle and get people can cast their votes.
Just posing.
There's a difference between working out for hypertrophy versus working out for strength.
But Blast Boost
question.
86 is asking, what is your squat level? Both of you. How many
My
pounds?
squat right now is 265 and my deadlift is 330.
265. Mine 266. What's your other one?
And my bench is 215.
Oh yeah, easy 216.
At a body weight at 159.
Right.
Yizzy, how much do you weigh?
Hmm?
Much you weigh?
165 maybe.
Jeez, you chunky.
Yeah, 165, 170. Yeah.
Yizzy is a part of the 3 Chunketeers.
Oh, we are. Yeah. Who was part of our
You got to be careful though, Shiv. Be careful on those weights, man. They will come back to haunt you later on. I played football and ran track in college, and that was a lot of years of heavy weightlifting, and now I'm a broken down old man because of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to do it while you can. You know, I don't want to have any regrets. So
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm still a young dude. I'm 26. Yizzy's just old.
Yeah. Exposing me.
RDG asks, what's next on Poke Tea Time? What can people expect?
So essentially, myself and Yizzy, we have a studio-based recorded episode this Sunday at Collecticon on stage. If you're there, just show up. I mean, you'll be able to watch us at that second stage. But we'll also be live on Whatnot. So we'll have that ready to go as far as that goes. So that live aspect will be there, but you will have to tune in from Whatnot just to be able to watch it, either from Yizzy's side or my side or through Whatnot side. We'll get that fixed out, and we'll let everyone know as far as social media goes. But that happens at 10 to 11 a.m. And then after that, we resume our normal podcasting as far as our Tuesday night streams go.
Oh, we can tell what we're doing at Collecticon for people that are doing. We're doing the Squid games to win packs, right?
Oh yeah. So for those guys who don't know, that scene in Squid Game where the guy shows up at the train station where he's slapping him every single time, we're gonna find people who are gonna consent into the whole Squid Game aspect, and if they can flip the little piece of paper, then they win a pack. If they can't, they just get slapped. But that's just a piece of content.
Shiv gets
or
slapped.
I get slapped. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's something. But we're figuring out stuff as far as content goes. But as far as future guests go, we might have Nav. Actually, Nav, you're more than welcome to come up on the podcast anytime. We do have Pokey Chloe, but we don't know when. So like now, before we used to have like guests every single week when it comes to our actual podcast, but we kind of changed that direction to where we want to be able to have the right kind of subject matter and have that subject matter very, very appropriate as to the guest itself and how the guest can actually benefit the subject matter itself. Because at the end of the day, we're in a business of being able to provide as much value to our audience. And so, we'll definitely have you on board. We're gonna figure out a schedule for that, obviously. And then for Pokey Chloe, she's confirmed. I just don't know when. So it just comes down to time as well as, as far as that goes. But like myself and Yizzy, like some of you guys don't know it, but like we legitimately come up with a lot of our subject matter like the day of. Like we're making our streams like the day of.
Yeah.
Well, and I think honestly, what a lot of people don't realize is I think there's far more content creators out there that follow that kind of schedule than what they actually realize, because we're busy. We all have a ton of stuff going on, and I'm right there in the same boat with you. There'll be some times where it's the morning of, I try to get out 3 videos a week, and it's like the morning of, and I'm like, man, I've got 2 hours that I could actually make this happen. What am I going to do? And it's time to dig deep. And you don't ever want to sacrifice, quality or value just to get content out there. And so sometimes it's just, it has to go by the wayside. But, so you definitely, for those out there listening and watching, definitely give a lot of kudos to your content creators, because it does take a lot, especially to put that out consistently one after another.
Oh, of course.
Well, guys,
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So what's the goal? Like, what's something that you would like to achieve as far as content creating goes in the next 12 months?
So for me personally, I mean, my channel has kind of always been based around the investing aspect, the business aspect, the market aspect, because I think that's probably my strong point, right? It's my strong point because I have a strong background in that, also creating other businesses. I have a history of doing that. And so for me, the goal is to really, I think, increase the quality of my videos. So whether that is just in the editing, whether that is in portraying information, getting it out there in a more concise manner, because I think I've kind of found my niche in that area. And then also expanding this podcast as well. I would like to get to a point where, I mean, this might be far off, but to actually speak to people in person, you know, kind of like a Joe Rogan style, where it's like, hey guys, come on down to Phoenix. Let's talk in person. I've got other things kind of being worked on behind the scenes, trying to actually talking about conventions and talking about these type of events. These are things that I'm actually working on right now to actually develop here in the local Phoenix area. And myself and my business partner are looking to try to expand that so that we can really try to make, you know, the Phoenix metropolitan area kind of a hub, a place that people look at as, you know what, for TCGs in general, but even Pokemon, that's a place that I'd like to get to. Those are events that I'd like to see. Because right now it seems like Texas and maybe Las Vegas kind of have a stronghold on that, right? And I would really like
Florida,
to see
Texas, Chicago, Vegas are like the 4 places where it's typically at.
But yeah, that's kind of the direction that I'm headed, is still sticking within that, but really just trying to fine tune it even further and provide it in a more high quality fashion.
Right. I think that's sort of exactly what we're kind of doing, right? Well, like that's sort of our goals as far as like fine tuning. I think, obviously, like for a lot of you guys who don't know, we started our podcast in November. And ever since then, we've been making like minor adjustments. And even if we do have something that's working right now, we might change it in the next, 4 or 5 months, because it's like, hey, what works? What's going to essentially make it a little bit better for us? And what do we think is going to be more enjoyable for our audience? And what's going to allow them to take as much as possible from it? But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think, we got a lot of things out of this, and I think that's the coolest thing about it. We really appreciate you allowing us to come on come on your platform and talking to you.
Yeah. Oh, of course, guys. I mean, it is.
We have a lot to learn from you.
Well, it's sincerely my pleasure as well. You guys are offering and doing a lot of good things for the community, and those are the people that I, in any way that I possibly can, even if it's just the smallest degree, promote them and get you guys out there to a larger audience. But
well, thank you.
Truly appreciate you guys. Before we sign off, I do want to give you guys the opportunity to shout out all your social medias, all the different platforms that you guys are on, so anybody that's going to watch this or listen to it, they can make sure to check you guys out.
Yizzy, go ahead.
Yizzy Pokemon. I'm on YouTube and Instagram. I just did everything we talked about. I just did a vlog style content of where I walk around and about Save the World event and what I did in Vegas.
It's like a David Dobrik style video.
Dobrik style, correct.
Nice.
It's like 5 minutes long. So if y'all want to check that out and see like more of the vibe instead of what you saw online and what actually was happening through the scenes, go check it out. Follow
Yizzy. He needs help, man. He needs as much clout as possible.
No, it's okay. If you don't want to, you can say, it sucks. Just like unsubscribe and dislike the video,
No, I mean, like, definitely give it a chance. I think, like, what we're trying to aim for is something, like, a little bit different as far as content goes, and we want to adapt as far as that goes. But, yeah, I'm Notshivam. You can see it in the title right there. I'm literally that on everything. I recently just started up a Facebook page for that, so if you want to follow that, go ahead. On Instagram, I'm at Notshivam. TikTok, I'm at Notshivam. Follow me. Almost at that 60K mark. That's pretty much it. And, subscribe to the PokéRealm Time podcast if you enjoy us, and if you want to see more of us, and if you want to see Nav on the channel as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I look forward to it, guys. I look forward to the invite. And again, one last big thank you to both of you for being on today. Best of luck in all of your ventures. And also, big shout out to everybody that is watching or listening to this. We truly appreciate it. And other than that, guys, we will see you all next time right here on the Pokemon Masterclass. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.